Hello, Toastmasters, District 31, outside of District 31, or maybe you're not even a Toastmaster yet and you're curious about what Toastmasters is about. Welcome to the District 31 Club Close-Up video series. This is a video interview series where I interview clubs from District 31. We learn about their clubs, the great things they're doing to engage their existing members, and how they're recruiting new ones. I'm your host, Christian Austin. I'm the 2023-2024 District 31 Public Relations Manager. And today we are being joined by the Winchester Toastmasters Club. They are in Winchester, Massachusetts, hence the Winchester Toastmasters Club. They're a community club, meaning that their club is open to anyone who wants to come visit, experience a meeting, and find out more about the club that we haven't mentioned in this video that we're making, that you're watching right now. The club is in person, meeting at the Winchester Library, and we'll give some more details in particular about how to contact the club and how to attend their meetings during the discussion we have in this video. They were founded in 2014. And I think we have a founding member online with us this evening. We're going to learn some more about who is joining us for this discussion this evening as well when we do some introductions. But first, we are going to be running this as a panel discussion where I will be your moderator, and then everyone from the Winchester Toastmaster Club is a panelist, free to chime in on answers to questions that I pose. This is going to be run more like a discussion rather than a formal panel discussion. I want to tell everyone, please look aside, get that notebook out, get that pen out, because it's time to take some notes about what the Winchester Toastmaster Club is doing and bring those notes back to your club. Before we get started with the discussion though, I'd like to go around the Zoom room and have everyone introduce themselves. We'll start first with the president of the club. Lisa, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Lisa Spang. I've been with the club since 2015. I grew up in Winchester and I spent a lot of time in the Winchester Library. It's a beautiful building and we've got a room with paintings and it's just perfect with a podium for our meetings. I'm thrilled that you're making this recording, Kristen, and we would love to have any of our listeners join us at any time. Tuesdays, first and third Tuesdays of the month, and we welcome visitors. We'll introduce you, give you a name badge, and hope you join us and tell us about yourself. We like it when visitors come and you want to know for sure if the chemistry is right. So that's it. Thank you, Kristen, for the opportunity for our club to be publicized here.
Thank you so much for that, Lisa. And watch this video. I guarantee you're going to want to join one of the club meetings in the Winchester Library. So continue to stay tuned. It's good to go visit, but watch a little more before you go visit the club. Moving on next to Lin Shen, the past president of Winchester Toastmasters. Lin Shen, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone, and thank you very much for joining this meeting. And I'm the past president. My name is Lin Han. I joined Winchester Toastmaster 5 years ago. At that time, I want to looking for somewhere to improve my English. Well, so many years in Winchester Toastmaster, I improved a lot. I never think I can be a president. Well, we have a great group, great officers, great members. Right now, we increase a lot. I hope everyone can come to visit our club and be a member. That is a very great place to improve your speaking and communication skills, even leadership. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Lin Shen. And this is a story with a lot of officers and Toastmasters. They just join to get better at speaking, and before they know it, they're on that leadership track and they become the president of a club. So congratulations for being the past president.
Thank you.
Moving on now to our treasurer, John. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. My name is John Madrid. I've been with the club since 2015. The club was founded in 2014, as you noted, and Lisa started in 2015 also. And I think I've been the treasurer for like 7 years, you know, and it's been a great job. You know, I enjoy the position, and I've sort of got it down now how to organize the finances and sign people up, and so it's worked out pretty good. I really enjoy working with the club. I actually joined the club initially with my son. It was my idea to get my son to join because I thought he could improve his speaking skills. And he lasted for a couple of years, and he was actually a past president for a while. And then he moved out of town. But I liked the club so much, I just stayed on. And so I've been there ever since.
Thanks for sharing that, John. And that's a good point. Bring family members to the club as well. Everyone wants to get better at speaking. Everyone wants to join a community. And John has been a longtime member. I guarantee you're going to get some good advice from John this evening. So pay attention to what John has to say during this conversation that we have this evening. Moving on next, Yun, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Yun Feng. I joined the Winchester Toastmaster Club a little over a year ago. My goal is to improve my public speaking skill and also how to be a leader and how to listen well. I had my first try was the Toastmaster International 7 years ago in a corporate setting, and I didn't last very long because it was just the timing was not, perfect in the middle of the workday. So I decided to try again with the community club. And the first time that I visited the club, I fell in love. I felt it's great atmosphere, very welcoming and supportive. So I decided to join after my first visit. And it's a great decision. And this year I am the VP for Education. It's quite a challenging role, but I am happily taking that on and helping new members, especially to get their journey started and just pass on some of my experience and knowledge. Happy to be here.
Thank you for sharing that, Yun, and for stepping into the VP of Ed role so early. A great responsibility and also a very rewarding responsibility as a club officer as well. And a point that you made was that maybe you were part of a former Toastmasters club, the timing didn't work out, the atmosphere didn't work out. Check out Toastmasters again, because not all clubs are the same. And that's why we're doing this video series, to learn specifics about particular clubs. Moving on next to Joe. Joe, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Joe Gavin. I'm the current Sergeant at Arms. I used to belong to another local Toastmasters club in 2019. I thought it was a good experience, but I just had a couple of specific goals that I wanted to meet outside of Toastmasters, but involved presenting. Hit the goal, and I said, oh, okay, I think maybe I'll just take a little bit of a rest. And then COVID hit. And then I realized, or I should say I took the advice when I was told to visit a few clubs. I just settled on the first one. I walked in, yeah, this one's good. I think I'll join it. But now when I decided post-COVID to come back, I said, I tried a few. When I came to Winchester, the thing that really sold it to me was it's just such a supportive environment and just very friendly. And I felt within probably the first 15 minutes of being there that I had known everybody there for a very long time. And I had just first met them then. And that was back this past April.
Thanks for that, Joe. Really important points. When joining a Toastmasters club, if you're looking for a new club, it's not just about getting better at speaking. It's about the people that you're around as well. This is a community. It's not just a classroom where you go in, you practice, and then you leave. You form relationships with the members. You learn about the members from the stories they tell during the meetings, and you have that connection as well. So thanks for sharing that, Joe. Moving on, last but not least, Tapani, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you. My name is Tapani Ronni. I'm currently the club secretary. Though the president gave me a honorific title of Toastmaster Emeritus because I'm the last founding member left in the club and been there since 2014. And I've seen dozens and dozens of people join and also leave when they reach their goals. And it's been a great experience. We used to be in the basement of Restaurant de Lucia in the downtown Winchester, but the library is much better because it's less noisy. So it's been a great time.
Want to point out, as Tapani said, founding member of the club. So he's going to have a lot of experience to share with you this evening as well. And Tapani, I believe you also belong to multiple clubs. Is that right?
Yeah, and the second club is Mitre Toastmasters in Bedford. And I joined that club in 2008.
The reason I brought that up is if you're already in a club, it doesn't mean you can only belong to one club. If you see something you like here in the Winchester Toastmaster Club, feel free to join them as well. You can be a member of as many clubs as you want to be. All right, thank you everyone for introducing themselves. I'd like to start with our panel discussion now, and I'd like to open it up with a general question about the club. And I'd like to know, how would you describe the Winchester Toastmasters Club? If there was a motto, what would it be? And what is that special sauce that the Winchester Toastmaster Club has that people come and they want to stay?
Yes, I think our biggest strong suit is our friendliness and diverse membership. We work very hard at welcoming people. I was membership chairman for a long time, and I found it just really important to acknowledge the guests when they do attend. We get emails from people who want to come for a visit, and I always do tailored emails to know that some person responded and they are welcome to join us. I have a list, and I'd be sure to follow up on their attendance. We do have a clipboard with a sign-up sheet. I was finding that people would come and would be really friendly and they would leave, but we never got their contact information. So it's very important to know their address, to know their phone number, to know whether they live nearby or not, and to follow up pretty much. So it's really helped a lot to focus on the visitors and make sure they feel welcome. So John, you had something to add to that?
Well, I was going to say the same thing, that, you know, we're a diverse club and we're very welcoming. We concentrate on the welcome when guests come in, and we're learning all along. We've been around for 9 years, and Tapani was our founding member, but and we're learning all the time. You know, the fact that it took us a while to figure out that we needed to have a sign-up sheet for the guests, but that's been a real big help to us on contacting the guests. But we're very welcoming, and we always try to include the guests in the meeting, giving them either table topic rules or just asking them why they came to the meeting, and just giving us their input on the meeting. It's been very helpful. I mean, Yoon and Joe mentioned that in their introductions.
Yeah, very, very important, right? If you have somebody new that comes in, it's like a guest at your house. If you don't talk to them, you ignore them, you just tell them to take a seat and do their own thing, they're probably not want to come back to your house again. So in the club, it's the same way, right? You want to create that friendly atmosphere, get them engaged right away. And Lisa, a great point about the clipboard, right? It's a low-tech solution, but if you don't capture that information, how are you going to get in touch with the guest again if life gets in the way, they just don't have time to come back? How are you going to send that email? How are you going to make that phone call to just remind them that you're still there? It's still a fun meeting and they're always welcome to come back. So great tip with just having a clipboard available to get guest information.
Yeah, I find that the clipboard approach is friendlier. There's no easy way to demand information from people. But a clipboard, they see that other people have come to visit the club and they sign up. And they can decide whether or not to come back, but at least they've signed their name and we know where to find them. Also, name badges. I know that even with people that have been with our club for a long time, you reach a point where it's too late to ask them what their name is. So I started the name badge. We always had them to some extent, but I printed them and made them more formal. And I want to acknowledge Joe. He continued on with the tradition and he made the name badges even nicer.
He kicked it up a notch. Or two.
Yes.
Can you describe what you did with the name badges?
We put them on a tray and leave them in the front of the room. So when people walk in, they pick up their name. If they're a guest, we give them a Sharpie with a blank name badge and they put the name badge on and we know who they are. We can call them by name when they get up in front of us.
Great point, Lisa. It eliminates any potential awkwardness of hearing somebody's name and not remembering it and then not calling them by their name. You don't have to ask again with the name badge. And this is something before Toastmasters went virtual, the common practice was to have name badges. It's a great reminder that name badges are a very important part of the in-person meeting. When we don't have our name printed across the screen for everyone to remember, we need to put that tag on so that people can see our name in the in-person meeting. This leads perfectly into what I wanted to ask you about guests and signing up as members. What exactly are the logistics of asking guests to become members and giving them membership forms?
Yes, that is a good point for the cooperation. Every time when the guests before the meeting, and one of the officer, most of the time, everyone will know the guest how many guests will come, their names. So we are ready for them coming, and we try to welcome, like President Lisa said. After the meeting, we try to get them to get feedback in the front. We give them the first feeling they are the owner of the club. They are not just guests. So give the opportunity to talk, very simple. And then we tell them, if you are interested in become a member or you want to know more detail, we will show them, like John, he will give the more details. Then after meeting, the guests will clearly know whom they should come to. That is a clear direction to how to be a member, how to contact the officers. After they send, and another officer will email, tell them exactly what the website, what the next step, and ice cream speaker, something like that. So officers will clearly show them step by step. In this way, they immediately engage in the club.
Good point, Lin Chen. We do make it optional. Invite the guests to come up to the front of the room. There's no pressure. And you can really tell whether or not they really want to get up in front of us or not. But there's always the invitation extended.
Was there, Lisa, on that point, is there anything in particular you do to make new members or guests comfortable to sign up for those roles and to take those speaking slots, which is something that a lot of new members and guests are very uncomfortable to do, and that's why they're coming to the club, because they want to get comfortable with speaking. Is there anything the club does in particular to get those newer members or guests to sign up and speak in front of the club?
John, you want to address that? John's great at this.
Yeah.
Ask them. we ask them. We actually we'll invite guests back for another meeting, and we'll give them roles, even though they're not members. We'll give them the timer role, or we'll give them some kind of a role, and it sort of forces them back, and it just makes them feel like that they're welcomed, and But I also I have sign-up forms with me that I can hand out to them. But more importantly, I have my computer with me. And if I have my computer, I say, well, I can just open up Winchester International right now, and we can sign up right now. And that actually works best because I let them fill it in. Instead of me transferring the information from a form, I let them fill it in. And
they do. They just step right out in front of the computer and
then
sign up.
if they have a credit card, they pay for it right then and there.
So you're doing not only agenda signups, but if they want to join as a member, there'll be a computer there where they can sign up and give you, the treasurer, their credit card information to join the club as well.
Well, I let them put their own credit card information into the computer. I don't want their credit card information. But,
right.
And probably half the members that sign up right there on the spot. You know, if they get excited about the meeting, then they'll say, "Oh, I want to join." Well, all right, here's the computer. Let's sign you up. You know, I don't want you thinking about it. Just sign up.
Buying signals.
Yeah, John is very good at
How
that.
much does it
John
cost?
did a great job.
It's
Yes, he
Yeah.
does.
Once they're signed up, they're committed.
I want to add to, I mean, importantly, that it's a very welcoming and no pressure environment. And first new members coming in, I mean, even international Toastmaster International recommend you, I mean, try a few clubs and get a sense which one fits you. But I did that too, and one of the, I'm not saying that shouldn't be the way, but one club I went to, they seem to be trying to pressure me to join, which I found, I mean, uncomfortable. But when I got to Winchester, it was like, how do you feel about it? You don't have to make the decisions. You can come back again. And we even inviting people that certainly will not become a member, like Tapani's mother-in-law came, and then she served as our timer for the day, and she was fantastic. Because she was a teacher. Very commanding and very so powerful. And people bring in their visiting parents from India, and I mean they just want to get a sense of, I mean, how is this community, and we're not hunting them to say, okay, how do you feel, you should sign up. I just felt like that's just, I mean, the way how we do it, and importantly, because we have such a good vibe, and people just naturally being drawn to. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Yin. And
yeah.
Great point there about District 31. They have a motto, at least our district director does have a motto, which I think a lot of people do agree with: the members over metrics. The metrics of, we like the club success plan. We like to look at the dashboard and see our numbers. But at the end of the day, it's about what are the members getting out of Toastmasters? What are the members getting out of the club? Is this an environment for them? Are they improving? Not about just getting members on paper that are going to attend the meetings. And then potentially you get somebody to sign up that is a little hesitant, and then they don't last more than one term anyway. So you want your long-term members, as you said, it's a low pressure situation. If they see value in the club, they can sign up right there. And then as John was saying with the computer, I'd like to take that and bring that back to my club as well. That is a great idea. My club, one of my clubs meets in person. We could potentially do that. For people who are virtually, you could probably do that since you're on your computer anyway, but just the idea of bringing the computer to the meeting to have people sign up for roles and then potentially join right there in the meeting. There's no back and forth. There's no, like you said, I'll think about it, or you lose track. You forget that you're going to do it. It's right there, and you make it very easy to do. So that's a great tip, to bring that computer to the in-person meeting. Anyone else have?
Yeah, sorry. I want to add one more details. I think the details are very important for the guests, especially when it's the first time to come. For example, we already started meeting. Some guests they're late. So our officers will quietly, give them the agenda And so in this way, they know what's the procedure of the meeting, make them feel comfortable. The second, after meeting, we normally have a small talk. The officers will potentially talk with the guests on purpose, make them know more about our own story. In this way, they will feel more close to our members and officers. That is also very important. I think all our officers, even all the members, are very nicely to talk with the guests, make them feel very comfortable. And so that is also very important.
Lynchen, that is an interest. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just one other thing to add on to that. What I picked up on very early, the first time I visited, it's an environment where you're not afraid to fail. I think that's one of the biggest things with public speaking is you're just petrified you're going to fail. Here, there's some pressure on because I think in my mind, I say, well, if I fail, I'm going to disappoint people. So that's going to drive me a little bit. But if I just completely stumbled, I know it's going to be okay. They're going to pick me back up. Okay, you fell, dust yourself off, and let's keep on moving with it.
And that is an important message to convey as well, right? If somebody is joining the meeting and they're hesitant because they feel that they're going to fail, but it's well known that that's what all members are there to succeed by failing first and learning from their mistakes. People are going to be less hesitant to take those roles. That's a really important point. Thanks for sharing that, Joe. And then I was just going to say, Lisa, I was going to say to Lynchen's point with the second half of the meeting being for introducing guests, if I understood that correctly. So at the very end, the guests will give feedback, but there's also a second part of the meeting where guests are introduced to members. Can you talk a little more about that?
When I was president, as well, Lisa right now is working the same way. At first of the meeting, we will welcome the guests, and also we will tell them at the end of the meeting, we will ask them come to the front, give some feedback. And at the end of the meeting, we will have this point. We will ask them one by one, come to the front, and introduce themselves, why they want to visit our club, what's their purpose, something like that. It seemed like a small talk. Actually, at that point, we will encourage them. They already know how to do the icebreaker speech. And then we will let them know how to be a member and introduce John to them. Next, after they join the member, immediately we will introduce the website and the icebreaker speech. So in this way, they immediately jump in the club to take their own roles. Yeah, that really encourage them.
Yeah, we do invite them up to the front. It's very obvious whether they want to come to the front or not.
Yeah.
Their body language, you can just tell whether they want to be up in front. It's funny, we do ask when people join, most of them say they went to other clubs. I know I did. I went to several other clubs over a couple of years, and Winchester Toastmasters was more authentic, I felt. And I think that our new members are telling us that we are authentic, and we're definitely a community-based club, not corporate. Years ago, I was on a job interview, and the guy who was interviewing me had a Toastmasters speech to give at noontime. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was like a cult. People kept coming to his office asking him, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" I was trying to interview for the job, and he was walking out of the room. I thought, this is a corporate club. I don't want to belong to a corporate club. That was my absolute first exposure to Toastmasters.
And it's important to have a good first exposure for whatever club you go to, so that you know that, as we talked about, it's a place where you can feel free to fail. you improve and you're welcome into the club as well. So you want to leave that member who comes in, that future member, I should say, that guest, with a good impression about the club and the Toastmasters in general.
Yeah, I think Tapani, did you want to add to that?
There are a couple of points. When COVID hit, we didn't give up. We just had Zoom meetings for 2.5 years. And that one summer, my mother-in-law got stuck in our house because she couldn't fly back to assisted living. And I said, why don't you join Toastmasters meeting? And she actually had a great time. She was there like every time for 3 months and liked the people online. And then one time we had a chance to be there in person, and everybody welcomed her like an old friend, and she had a whale of a time. And I think that's a good example of a warm atmosphere of the club. And the second point I have is it helps a lot to meet in a public library, because anybody can walk in the door out of curiosity, and we are very open. Yeah, my other club is a corporate/community club, and it has a problem that there's a security officer you have to go through, and that might intimidate some people. But we don't have that. That helps a lot.
Bonnie, too, the library in particular, right? You can be in a public space, but the library is the definition of a public space where literally anyone could walk in and join your meeting as well. So for anyone thinking about a location, if you're virtual now and want to do something in person, that's a great point. Maybe consider a library where Winchester is meeting. I'd like to touch on now and point out, first of all, we've touched on a lot of membership, recruitment, and having members join your club. In fact, last year, 16 new members joined the club. I have to applaud you for that. That is a fantastic number, 16 new members. And then this year already, we're only 2 months into the year. For those not familiar with the Toastmaster year, the Toastmaster year starts July 1st. 6 new members already. To be commended with the membership recruiting. We talked a lot about what you're doing to have guests feel welcome, the follow-up system with having that clipboard, making sure you send guest information, asking them to come back. Is there anything else that was not mentioned that you'd like to point out about what the club is doing to have such phenomenal new member numbers? John.
People come as a guest, and sometimes they can't make their decision right away. We welcome them back as a guest for as long as they want to be a guest. I mean, it could be, several months if they want to continue to come as a guest. And we had, I think Tushar was, he was a guest for weeks, for months, and he finally signed up. It just, if you just want to be a guest and come listen in and participate, like in table topics, they can do that. And so we don't put pressure on to join, but I do have my computer there in case they want to join. But we don't put a lot of pressure on to join.
Yes, one point is we fill the roles at end of the meeting. So in this way, we can encourage the guests or the new members to send some even simple roles. So that one of the strategy we are working on.
Yeah, we had a guest that came several times, and come to find out, when we went back in person, she had babysitter problems. So she couldn't, so she came via Zoom, and she came once, but she just couldn't do the in-person meetings. And I think she lived quite a distance from Winchester, but she was a guest for quite a while, and I bet she'll be back.
That, again, going back to, as John said, right, there's no pressure when you come to the meeting. The computer's there if you want to sign up. It's all about if you feel the club is a good fit. You cite members that come back over and over again as guests, and then they finally join. There's no pressure being put on them. It's their own decision. They see value in the club, and they become a member. So you emphasize the point with the 16 new members last year, 6 new already this year. People would look at that number and say, what magical thing is Winchester Toastmasters Club doing? There's not magic. It's the basics of follow-up, making people feel welcome, and then helping them achieve their goals. And then they're going to want to become members of the club. I want to talk to Tabani. You're on mute, Tabani.
Couple of points is when you fill the roles beforehand, when the meeting starts, you look really organized because you are not trying to fill the roles at the last minute. So you can start on time. That's important. And the second point is that 2005, somebody told me about Toastmasters. I thought, I'll give it a shot. I went to a club in Waltham and I had no clue what was going on. And I came back again, I still didn't have any clue because nobody told me what they were doing. And I didn't go the third time. And it was many years later before I joined MITRE Toastmasters Club. But this is important. We often introduce the roles to the guests so they understand what we are doing. So it's easier to follow the meeting.
You've mentioned.
Yes, we do send out a draft agenda for people who are thinking of coming because it looks like we're organized. This is exactly what they're going to see. It's between 7 and 8:30. It kind of predisposes them. They know what's going to happen, so they'll come.
And are you signing members up and guests up at the end of the meeting or sending out emails? How does the sign up usually work? I know you mentioned website before. Can you talk a little about how people sign up for roles and meetings?
The people present in person get the first dib for, John writes down volunteers for any role. And then what's left empty is taken by people who couldn't make it that day.
Is the website you use, do you use the free Toast Host website that people can sign up for as the online interface?
Yes.
Well, you need to be a member to get on that site, but we use it to generate the agenda. And also, what I started to do, a lot of people just couldn't get around to getting on that site and signing up for a role. So I send out like I cut and paste thing into the email and put the names of the people that already asked for the slots and send that around and give them a choice whether they want to sign up on our website or just reply to the email and we'll put them on the list on the agenda. We do have a couple of members that I'm not quite sure they feel comfortable with computers. So they were responding to this email and I just plug them in and it just works better for them because people get emails on the fly. They're in the middle of work, they're on a trip, they're in the car, whatever. And it's just much easier. Yeah, I'll do it. Put me up for timer and then you just plug them in rather than have them remember to get on the website and put their name on and then somebody might have signed up ahead of them and they don't know. So it just makes it easier because it's just so important that all the roles be filled and also remind them of the meeting coming up. So it's like you agreed to be a speaker, you agreed to be an evaluator, it's much more likely that they will show up. Or when that work interruption comes, they'll say, no, I have something going on Tuesday night. Gives them the ammunition to not let work rule their lives.
That's a good point. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Sorry, I just really want to give a lot of credit to Lisa and John for making sure the agenda and the roles are filled. From one of the training sessions, I heard at some club they're asking the Toastmaster of the day to be in charge of filling the agenda. I think in certain circumstances, if the member is fairly new, they don't know a lot of people in the club. It might be challenging for them, and it indeed is a lot of work. And we're so lucky to have John and Lisa be on top of that, because they're, I mean, longtime members. They can have their influence over other members, asking them to fill in the role. So things happen, people's life got busy, and there's definitely occasions that we have to fill in the roles last minute. And then this is the time when other members of the club step in, and we have like standby speakers that seem they can pull out a speech from their pocket just with an hour notice, things like that, and stepping in the evaluator role. And as a VP this year, I try to encourage the newer members to, I mean, plan their speeches and put them on their agenda, on their schedule ahead of time, their icebreaker and their first, second. I mean, so because we have more members now, and it's better to have it planned out. So I'm trying to do that. Some members are more responsive than the others, but since we have quite a bit of membership pool, it's not too hard of a job to do. Yeah.
Well, I think
And
the
we
other thing I
have the
find,
passwords. We have passwords. They're always a pain. I'm sorry, Joe.
oh, I was just going to add on to that. The other thing that I notice is good with most, if not all, the roles being filled at the end of the meeting. And it might be somebody who was encouraged to take a role, they agree to it, and they're nervous about it. They don't know what they need to do. It's very easy to just in 10 seconds give us some encouragement and do a quick, oh, all you have to do is this, 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 and this. It's not that hard. It just kind of lower that anxiety a little bit for them.
Yeah, and I want to acknowledge Yun for following up and making sure the new members know what the next steps are to be a participant in the next meeting. She's very good at that.
And I heard you mention icebreakers as well. Is there anything in particular you're doing to inspire members to give that icebreaker? That is typically the hardest speech to give, that first speech, to get up in front of the club. And to do that when you're maybe not feeling comfortable, is there anything in particular you're doing as leaders? Maybe there's a mentor that inspires them. Can you talk about getting members to give those icebreaker speeches?
It's actually not as hard for us as to organize that, because I mean, John does such a good role to enroll the new members, and then once they enrolled, they have the urge or motivation, say, I need to give my icebreaker. And because we have so many new members, they get to see someone give that speech probably every other meeting. So they kind of see that, okay, what is other people, new members are doing, and kind of, I haven't actually have a lot of questions like, what should I be talking about? We do send out information from the resources from Toastmaster Internationals, but I actually had a hard time to decide. John could remember that. I was like, I'm not sure what should I cover, and I don't want to be a laundry list of my life. But I feel the newer members, sometimes they got a sense of what they want to tell. Basically, we tell them like it's a entry speech, and we just want to know why you're coming to Toastmasters, and I mean what your goal is, and tell us about you. And you'd be surprised, people actually have a lot of ideas. One of new members talk about connection she had in life with people from food in her family. So we're like, that's an interesting angle. And then we didn't know a lot about her from just that, telling that story. It's actually pretty refreshing to see people have different ideas. Yeah.
Those icebreakers, right? They don't have to be a chronological story about your life from when you're born to how you arrived in the club. It could be about food, right? It's something personal to you that's easy to talk about. And I think by you pointing that out to members or other new members, seeing that a colleague that's a new member gives a speech that's not that chronological story, they say, well, I can really talk about whatever I want in that icebreaker speech, and the barrier of entry is lowered.
Yeah, I tell people usually that you cannot fail an icebreaker because you are gonna give a short speech about yourself, and you can pick your own angle. So that's all there is to it. It's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, with our group, they're safe to be authentic. I went to a Rotary Club once. They wanted to know what Toastmasters was all about, and I told them you could get up and talk about yourself. Something dumb happened when you were 10 years old, and people will share the joy and the whatever happened. And this is the type of thing you don't really share with your coworkers. So we're community-based, we're not corporate. So people are freer to talk about what's near to their heart and what their true aspirations are.
Completely agree. In the corporate environment, sometimes you're holding back, and that's a great point to make about a community club versus a corporate club as well. Some of the differences we talked about: the library, you can just walk in, anyone can walk in. You don't need to go past the security gate. You can open up your heart to the community and be authentic about what you're talking about as well. And you don't have to worry about, maybe I should bite my tongue because the boss may be entering into the meeting and I really shouldn't be talking about that.
True.
Let's talk a little more about education as our last topic. We talked about the icebreaker speeches. We didn't really touch that much on pathways and members giving speeches in the club. Are members typically giving pathway speeches, and do they have goals that they are aiming towards by the end of the year to achieve levels? How does the club usually deal with members' goals and pathway levels?
Lisa, do you want to answer or you want me to answer?
I'm sorry? Well, Lin Chin wants to come back, so she's not.
Okay, I can take a first stab since I'm the VP, supposed to be the kind of the guidance for the pathways. Our clubs is actually not very strict with pathways, and for whatever reason, and people were not coming onto pathways or staying on it. They just love, to make their own goals and present. I think, but with newer members, I think more younger, we have very young professionals like just joining the workforce, joining, and they are more acceptable for the pathways. And I don't know if they have a specific goal toward the end of the year, but I try to push them to, you have just the next project in sight. And most of them just beginning. So once they have more, understand the pathway more, I could recommend them to, look further down. You don't have to do them in order. See what, pick your interest. So I think we're have more members at the level 1. So it's just more required project for them to complete.
Yeah,
that's a good point, right? You don't have to go level by level. If there's a certain speech that somebody wants to give and to focus on a certain aspect, they can skip over to level 2 and do that project and go back to level 1. There's no need to be stagnated because they're looking at that one project they need to get through and they can't do any additional projects. So that's a great point that you made about being able to move around the system. Does anyone else want to comment on speeches at the club? And Tapani?
Yeah, Tapani. Yeah.
So pathways has been a bit of a problem. They made it easier, but it's still hard to explain briefly to people. And the older you are, seems to be more difficult to understand. I don't know why. I'm old enough that I understand the system, but if you're not tech-oriented, it might be intimidating. Compared to the old CC manual, this gave you a book and start working on it. But it's a brilliant environment. But I used to be a pathways guide, and it was quite a bit to explain. But I think it's a way to go, but we haven't found an easy way to convince some members to take it on, because they are good speakers, but they just don't see the point.
And there's a lot to get up to speed with, as you mentioned, Tapani, and members who are intimidated to speak to begin with, to learn another system, it's not always the easiest thing to do. But over time, once they become more comfortable, they'll probably be more open to learning about the system, and the fact that Yun said you can move around to different projects as well. Don't have to follow it in a sequence. The last thing I'd like to ask before we conclude is talking about giving speeches, pathways specifically. Are there mentors in the club that help new members with speeches, with encouraging them to become leaders in the club? Is there, even if it's not a formal mentoring system, is there a mentor or a buddy system that you have in the club where more experienced members are taking a newer member under their wing and showing them the ropes?
Well, mentorship, we've taken stabs at it. It just hasn't caught on in a formal sense. Yun has done a fabulous job reaching out to new members and helping them with their next steps. In listening to other videos like this, I understand we have to be out of the library by like 8:45. I mean, they're locking the doors and kicking us out. So we don't have an opportunity to stand around for very long and chat. And I think that works against us. It's a great location, but when it's over, we have to leave the building. So to be a mentor, and you have to reach out on your own time and at a different time and place. So far we haven't cracked that. Not yet, we haven't figured out how to do that. But I do know that we could use more formal mentorship situations going on, but it just hasn't caught fire. But it occurred to me when I was watching that other video that we just don't have that leeway in the short time we're in meeting between 7 and 8:30. There's not a lot of wiggle room to have private conversations. Just throwing that out there.
Lisa, the one thing I heard though with the second half of the meeting being for new members, you could almost view that as a mentor type activity where you're taking those guests or those newer members and encouraging them to speak to the club, giving their feedback about what they thought about the club. And then it sounds like the members, right, when somebody's coming to the meeting, that's a form of mentorship as well, where they're not just letting the person who is brand new just sit alone. There's members who are talking to them, filling them in on roles in the meeting. And that's a buddy / mentorship role in itself, even if it's not outside the meeting.
I tell you, we've had a couple of meetings in the last year or two where we met at a bar in Winchester Center. And we had a great time. It was very informal, and you just chatted with whoever sat down next to you. And I know I learned a lot about people that have come to the meetings all the time, and I didn't know this or that about them. It worked out famously. Just another way to get to know other members other than the formal meeting times. It was great.
And those informal meetings too, sometimes there's not a particular Toastmaster focus, but you're all Toastmasters and you have a conversation and you say, wow, I was engaged in that conversation. I think the members of my club would like to hear about that as well. Why don't you put yourself down for a speech next meeting and tell the whole club about what we just talked about?
Yes.
All right. Well, I've enjoyed this conversation tonight, but before we conclude, I'd like to ask one final question of all of you this evening. Why should somebody come and visit your club if they haven't figured this out already? Explicitly tell us why somebody should come visit the Winchester Toastmasters Club.
I'd say just the environment of where the meeting is. It's just a welcoming environment in general, and the group of people there are just very welcoming. It's just something you can, if you have any fear about, oh, I have I don't know any of these people, no one's gonna like me. Everybody that walks in the door, everybody just instantly befriends them.
Yeah, we're in Winchester Library. You don't have to live in Winchester to join us. I did a research study about our membership, and about half the people lived in Winchester and the other half lived in surrounding towns. And we did have several people that lived a few towns over, and they were regular members too. But you don't have to live in Winchester to join us. It's just a nice environment.
Free parking.
Yes.
Yes.
And we don't charge a club fee. The only fee we charge is Toastmasters. We don't have a club fee. Or we're economical.
We're a cheap date.
But you get your money's worth by attending your meeting.
Yes.
And can you just give a final, where can people find out about you? We'll post the website, and then also just the logistics, the particular location and time and date that you meet as well. Can you just give that again, please?
Winchester Public Library, 80 Washington Street, Winchester, Massachusetts. We're right behind the Town Hall of Winchester. We meet the first and third Tuesday of the month from 7 to 8:30. Please join us.
You can find us easily on Toastmaster International website.
Yeah, it's very positive and supportive environment. Not only you can share your story, you also can learn other story. It will be very fun.
It's time well spent, and you will definitely learn something new. Just join us.
Definitely join the Winchester Toastmaster Club. As Lincoln said, it's not just tell your story, learn other people's story, become part of the community. Some of the things that I learned this evening, you're going to be joining a friendly, welcoming club if you go visit the Winchester Toastmasters. Don't be afraid to fail. That's what Toastmasters is about. In particular, that's what the Winchester Toastmasters is about. It's a place to be authentic, community club. You don't have to worry about your boss working in. You can leave your heart out in the open. That is all part of improving. They have an organized meeting where their roles are filled. They're going to send that agenda out ahead of time. And don't worry if you're a brand new member, they're going to let you know what each of the roles is about, so you're not lost during the meeting. And in the second half, they're going to allow you to provide your feedback for the meeting as well. Don't be afraid, though. As we said, they're a welcoming club. So come join in an environment where you can be a guest as long as you want. And if you find value in the club, there'll be a laptop there where you can sign up for a role or maybe even join as a member in the meeting. Thank you, Winchester Toastmasters, for joining us on the Club Close-Up series. I wish you the best Toastmaster year ever coming up.